first thing you want to check is the power cord. Check the plug to make sure that it's wired correctly. If it's a 4-prong plug, your ground is always going to usually marked with a green screw, and your ground will always go into that, and it's the hook post. The other two should go directly across from each other, and there should be nothing directly across from ground. If you have something wired directly across from ground, then you're only getting 120 volts to the machine instead of the required 230 volts. If it is wired correctly, then there's a chance that from the plug clamping down onto the cord right here, from working back and forth, there could be a possible broken wire. So the best thing to do would be to remove the plug, take a pair of pliers, and pull on each wire. And if one of the wires pulls out, you know that it's broken back in the insulation. So you'll have to cut back approximately 6 inches and rewire your plug. On a 3-prong plug, I have seen where customers mistake the blue wire as the ground and have the blue wire going to ground, which would only give them 110 volts going to the machine. So you must make sure that the green and yellow striped wire is on the green ground post. If everything is good, checks out good here, then there's a chance that you might have a broken wire right here from where the cable moves back and forth. In order to fix that, you would have to remove the 4 screws that hold the cover on, disconnect the wire inside, pull the wire out, cut 6 inches back, and redo your wire inside the housing. First thing you're going to do is make sure that the nozzle, the tool is in the proper position. A lot of guys will store their machine in their toolbox with the tool in the upright position and then put their 35-pound extension cord on top of it, which will cause the tool mounting bracket to flex and actually bend, which will cause your nozzle to not lay flat on the roof. The next thing you would want to do would be to adjust your nozzle so that it is laying flat on the roof. Once the bracket gets bent, your set screw here, when you rotate the tool down, hits on the lower shaft, not allowing the tool to lay flush on the roof. In order to adjust this, you must loosen these 3 nuts, turn your set screw counterclockwise until your nozzle lays flat on the roof. Once that is done, you tighten all 3 nuts back up into position. Okay, the next thing you want to look at is the pitch of your nozzle. If your nozzle is laying completely flat on the roof, you have a pretty good chance that the outside of your sheet is going to get burnt by the back side of the nozzle. In order to get the correct pitch, you're going to want to see a slight pitch so that the nozzle out here does not rub on your sheet and burn the outside or the top side of the membrane. Next thing you're going to do to get the proper pitch of your nozzle would be to loosen all 4 screws of the nozzle. And turn your nozzle counterclockwise all the way to the left, and this should line you up with the proper pitch of your nozzle. And then the next thing you're going to do after this would be to check the alignment of the nozzle. Now that we have the proper pitch to our nozzle, we want to check the alignment of the nozzle with our pressure roller. In order to do that, you should have roughly 2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch of the opening of the nozzle sticking out past the silicone on the wheel. Okay, in order to get the proper positioning of your nozzle with the pressure roller, you must take your 10 millimeter wrench, loosen the two 10 millimeter bolts of the mounting bracket, and this will allow you to move your tool in and out, forward and backward, to achieve the 2 millimeters of opening that you need sticking out past the pressure wheel. Okay, now we need to check the proper distance between the tip of the nozzle to the center of our pressure roller bolts. In order to do this, you must put your straight edge against the tip of the nozzle and the side of the pressure roller, and then take your ruler and measure to make sure that you have 38 to 42 millimeters, or 1.5 to 1.5 inches to the center of your pressure roller bolt. Okay, in order to adjust your nozzle to get the proper 38 to 42 millimeter, you must again loosen the two 10 millimeter bolts on your mounting bracket, which will allow you to slide the tool forward and backwards to achieve your 38 millimeters to 42 millimeters, or 1.5 to 1.5 inches distance between the center of your wheel hub. Once you have that distance achieved, you must still make sure that you have the 2 millimeters, or roughly 1/8 of an inch, of your nozzle opening sticking out past the silicone on the pressure wheel, and then tighten your 2 millimeter bolts back down, and you should be ready to weld some roof. Let's do a recap on what we should and should not touch. We have these 4 screws here so that we can get the proper pitch to our nozzle. Then we have the 3 nuts below here to get the proper height of our nozzle. And then in the back here, we have 2 10 millimeter bolts to adjust our distance and our alignment of the nozzle. These 2 should never be touched. They're set from the factory. Alright, if you are having wrinkling issues with your machine, your guide roller may be out of adjustment. On a Roofon edge, your distance between the rocker arm and the edge of your guide roller should be 10 millimeters. In order to achieve this, you must take a 17 millimeter wrench, loosen the nut on the back side, turn your axle until you have achieved your 10 millimeter distance between the edge of the guide roller and the edge of your rocker arm. Once you have that, tighten your 17 millimeter nut back down, and this should take care of any wrinkling issues that you may be having. Sometimes in storage, when putting the machine away, the rocker arm of the guide wheel will get lodged underneath of the axle. When you have the machine out on the roof to do the welding, make sure that the rocker arm is out and your 2 swivel casters are firmly on touching the roof. All right, on your standard Roofon, the distance between the guide wheel and the edge of the rocker arm are different from the Roofon edge. On the standard Roofon, your distance between the guide wheel and the edge of the rocker arm should be 30 millimeters. This will align the guide wheel up with the edge of your pressure roller to give you the proper alignment. Here are some storage tips to assure the best performance and security of your Roofon and Roofon Edge. At the end of the day, you should always store it in a storage case, and when putting it in the storage case, you must make sure that the guide wheel is in the up position and your heat source is in the down position. Never put line cords in on top of the machine because this can knock the welder out of adjustment, causing you to have welding issues. If you still have issues or questions regarding your machine, you can reach us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 1-800-345-9353. Thank you.